Hey there guys, Nordic Warrior here, back with another video. So, make yourselves comfortable, because this will probably be a long one, because I have a lot to cover in this video, so yeah, let's get into it. So, what I wanted to start with, is I wanted to say that part of the reason I'm sick and tired of making boxing videos, and part of the reason I've been so inactive on this channel, is because I'm generally sick to death of repeating myself. So one of the things I have often complained about the state of boxing, and particularly the state of boxing fans, is I'm so sick and tired of the reactionary nature of boxing fans. Now, let's be honest, the vast majority of boxing fans on the internet and in society in general are normies. And one of the things that I'll talk about with normies is the fact that these people don't have any critical thinking skills, they don't have any agency, and a lot of the time you wonder if they even have free will, because it's like these people just can't think for themselves. And this applies to a lot of aspects of society, but it's very, very clear in how it applies to boxing. So, just to give you a brief example on what I'm talking about, so people have a particular view on a particular fighter, or a particular fight, or a particular division, or a particular situation in boxing. And that entire view depends on the public perception, it depends on the status quo, it depends on the generally accepted mainstream narrative. It has nothing whatsoever to do with common sense, it has nothing whatsoever to do with your own critical thinking skills. It's just entirely going along with the grain, going along with the current thing, the current status quo. Like, you guys have probably seen the meme, I support the latest thing. That's what I'm talking about here, basically. That same thing applies to boxing. And nowhere is that more apparent to me than in this Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk situation. There are very, very few people out there, and don't get me wrong, this doesn't really apply to my audience, like my viewing audience on here generally has their own opinion on the fight, and their opinion on it really depends on what they know about boxing and, you know, years and years of watching and studying the sport and whatnot. But the general public that are interested in this fight, their entire opinion on it is purely based on the latest thing, you know, the current development. So basically, if you wind the clock back, say, a year, think back to the midpoint of last year where Oleksandr Usyk took on Daniel Dubois, right? In the aftermath of that fight, what was everybody saying? Everybody in the boxing media, like, think to every boxing gym you went to, or the barbershop or whatever, and when you were listening to people talk about the aftermath of that fight, think of the comment section of every YTBC video, think of every interview you saw on YouTube, every one of these grifter channels who were covering the story. What was everybody saying? What was absolutely everybody who's involved in boxing saying in the aftermath of that fight? Well, of course, they were saying that the fight is a mismatch, referring to the Fury fight. They were saying Oleksandr Usyk got exposed, he can't take it to the body, he's too small, he's a cruiserweight, and Tyson Fury is going to smash him and completely and utterly expose him, that the fight was essentially a mismatch. And everybody, and I mean utterly everybody in the general boxing public, said that Tyson Fury was going to win. Everybody. So, a couple of months later, when Tyson Fury fights Francis Ngannou in essentially an exhibition, right, an MMA fight, and quote-unquote looks bad, gets knocked down, basically shows up to the fight out of shape, doesn't really try, spars with the guy, and basically takes it easy on him for 10 rounds, right, and goes down from a dubious punch that barely looked like it even landed. Right, that fight happened, and it was what it was. Right, I told you what it was at the time. It was essentially an exhibition, and all these same people, just 2 months later, I think that fight was like 2 months after the Dubois fight, right? These exact same people came out and said, oh, it's a mismatch. Usyk is going to smash Fury. He's going to destroy him. Fury is a bum. He looked bad against an MMA guy. He's got no chin. He's fat. You know, he can't defend himself. He's only ever beat Klitschko, and everyone else he thought was a bum. Fury is a complete hype job. His resume is terrible, blah, blah, blah. These same people who just 2 months earlier were saying Fury's one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, that he's a phenom, that he's going to absolutely demolish Usyk. Just 2 months later, these same people are saying Usyk's going to batter him. Fury's not an athlete. He's got no chin. He's weak. He can't punch. And that whole situation, it made me feel a little bit depressed inside. Just to see, after all the things that I've said on here, trying to educate people on boxing, and just giving my own opinion and making my own predictions and breakdowns. And let's be honest, my predictions, look, I don't always get them right, but very, very rarely do I read these situations wrong. Like when I really, really think about a fight, and when I really, really break it down, and when I also assess the political situation behind a fight, I'm a lot more aware than most, and very, very rarely do I completely drop the ball in these breakdowns. But people just don't learn, do they? Because again, this reactionary nature of these normie boxing fans was on full display during that situation. Then, of course, when Anthony Joshua, who lost to Usyk twice convincingly, goes on to knock out Ngannou, again, that just adds fuel to the fire. That's basically made Usyk the favourite, right? The bookies have basically got him either evens or they've got him the favourite. Everybody's betting on Usyk, everybody's picking him, and everybody's still riding on that Ngannou situation. And basically they've made Usyk the favourite. And subsequently they've made the bookies a heck of a lot of money potentially. So yeah, let me stop rambling and let me get to the main point of this video. Look, what I was talking about earlier, about how inactive I've been on this channel, and I know this video is very, very incoherent, I'm doing this on the fly, but look, if I wanted to, right, I could do what a lot of these channels do, right, without naming any names. I could do what a lot of these guys do. I could make multiple videos a day, reacting to every single interview, every single fight announcement, every single negotiation, basically putting these clickbait headline titles and just reacting to everything, right? And then giving very, very vague, very, very milquetoast views and opinions on things to get normies to watch my channel. I could do that every single day and I could probably make a living on YouTube. I probably could. Like a lot of these guys do, I could literally make a living on YouTube. But I won't do that. Why won't I do that? Because I just can't bring myself to do it. Because for me, in order to do that, in order to just steal a living from the internet like that and to just grift your way through it, you have to be a very, very particular type of person. See, I take a certain amount of, I don't want to say the word pride, but for lack of a better word, I take a certain amount of pride in the content that I produce, right? When I make a video, I want it to be something that my heart is generally in, right? And I want to make something that I think I personally, as a viewer, would like to watch, and something that I can put my unique perspective on, right? I don't want to just make videos multiple times a day. Tyson Fury calls out Joshua, calls him a dosser, blah, 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 with capital letters and emojis, and then sit there and make a 15-minute video. Make a 15-minute video saying, oh yeah, so Fury said this, and I heard he also said this, and AJ responded with this, and this happened, and that happened, and then get thousands of normies in the comment section all saying the same thing, all repeating each other. I can't bring myself to do that. I'm sorry, I just can't. So, yeah, I'm not gonna. So, yeah, it's just, do I even need to make a prediction for Usyk versus AJ? Look, people keep asking me to do a prediction video for it, right, to sit and break the fight down. I've been telling you guys for years years now. All you have to do is go back and watch any of my videos, any of my comment sections, any of my live streams, any discussions I've ever had on this topic. And I've said from day one what I think's going to happen in this fight. And that has not changed. Like, unlike these reactionary boxing fans who see one fight and that changes everything they know about the sport of boxing. They just all of a sudden forget everything. You know, these people who thought Usyk is a cruiserweight, you know, he's only about 6'3", you know, he doesn't punch hard by heavyweight standards, and, you know, the 6'9", 250 plus Tyson Fury is going to be too big, too strong, too powerful, and he's going to smash him in 5 rounds. To then all of a sudden, 2 months later, Fury's got no power, Usyk's going to smash him, he's going to dominate him, Fury has only ever beaten an old Klitschko, blah, blah, blah. You know, to go from two massive extremes, I think takes a real lack of self-awareness, and it takes a real lack of an understanding of how boxing works, you know? So yeah, how's the fight going to go? As I've been saying for years, my opinion has never changed. Tyson Fury is going to win this fight. I'm telling you guys right now. If I'm wrong, look, I'm wrong. You can take the mick out of me if I'm wrong. But if Tyson Fury is in shape, okay, and look, you never know with Tyson Fury. We've seen situations where he hasn't trained for fights. Okay, the Ngannou fight is a perfect example of this. He didn't train, showed up fat as a pig, right? Showed up to basically survive, spoil, spar. Wasn't really putting anything behind his punches. Wasn't trying to hurt the guy. Wasn't trying to knock him out. Went down, in my opinion, what looked like on purpose. And, you know, it was just kind of a balance issue. It wasn't like he got hit with a hard shot and was hurt. I don't think he was hurt at any stage of the fight, personally. But yeah, he showed up out of shape, didn't train, didn't try, and was there for just an exhibition, basically. You think that's going to happen here? This is the biggest fight of Fury's career. He's fighting for the undisputed title. Right? He's fighting a guy who's generally highly regarded, and at this point in time appears to be favoured to beat him. You really think Fury's going to show up, you know, with his belly hanging below his waist, having done no cardio, having done no sparring, and you think he's just going to show up to play? No. My opinion, and if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, I believe Tyson Fury is going to be in the best shape he's been in since the Klitschko fight, because this is the first world-class opponent that he's fought since that fight. Okay, and look, say what you want about Tyson Fury. I've criticised him when it's been right to criticise him. You know, I don't think I've ever said anything about the man on here that I couldn't justify, right? But I have never denied that the guy is a phenom, right? I have never denied that the guy has tremendous athletic ability, that he's naturally gifted, you know, that he's got fast hands, that he's strong, that he can punch, and people think he can't punch. Look, any 250-pound man who's that size, who's a professional boxer, can punch. Okay, I'm not saying he's the biggest puncher by pound-for-pound standards, but he hits a lot harder than Usyk, okay? And he makes up for his lack of power by being so physically fit. That's one thing Tyson Fury has, core strength, and he has a lot of stamina, right? So he's a lot more economical with his power than, say, someone like Anthony Joshua. You know, Anthony Joshua hits way harder in the early rounds than Fury does, but I would wager that Fury hits very hard, or Fury hits harder in the 11th and 12th rounds of a hard 12-round fight than AJ does, you know, because AJ doesn't have the stamina to really put on a late surge like that. So, yeah, Fury's going to be dangerous for the entire duration of the 12 rounds. He's a guy who can box multiple ways, okay? He can fight on the back foot, behind a jab, using lateral movement from either stance, okay? Fury's just as coordinated in a southpaw stance behind a lead right hand than he is behind a lead left hand on an orthodox stance, okay? And you saw that against Klitschko. You know, I'm not saying that Fury looked great against Klitschko. He didn't. He had to foul and spoil his way through that fight. But again, that's Klitschko, a guy who's 6'6" and 245 pounds. Okay, much bigger man than Usyk. Right, hits much harder than Usyk. Much more fundamentally sound than Usyk. Okay, it's a lot easier for Klitschko to get to the target against a tall guy than it is for Usyk. Okay, Usyk's a guy who's going to have to take a lot more risks. He's going to have to sell out. He's going to have to be considerably more aggressive than he was in his last couple of fights. I mean, you look at the last two opponents that Usyk fought. Daniel Dubois, who's, my opinion, an absolute bum, right? Just a big bodybuilder with no heart, no stamina, no chin, who can't really fight. He's just a guy with power and strength and size, but, he doesn't have that power and strength and size coupled with elite level natural athletic ability that Tyson Fury has. And it's the same with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua's a bit better than Daniel Dubois, don't get me wrong, but the dynamic is similar. He's a guy who's a big, strong, powerful, yet stiff and one-dimensional bodybuilder. And he doesn't have anywhere near the kind of natural athletic talent that Fury has, right? So you look at those two fights, and you look at how he went the distance with AJ twice, and yeah, he beat Dubois convincingly, but again, that's Daniel Dubois, and there's not really much else you can take from that. You think Usyk's going to be able to do the same thing to Fury? A guy who's bigger than those guys, right? Considerably bigger, considerably faster than those guys, has considerably more stamina, has a better chin than both of those guys, is more economical with how he uses his strength and how he uses his power. Alright, he's a guy who's incredibly dirty and incredibly politically protected, right? We've seen Tyson Fury get away with all sorts of fouls in fights. I'm talking about excessive low blows, excessive clinching, excessive rabbit punches, hitting on the break, pushing his opponent after the bell, and things like that. And we've just seen the guy get away with absolute murder in the ring and do whatever he wants, and the referees always seem to have his back. Whenever a fight's close, he seems to have the edge on the scorecards. And to me, look, we know it's very well known that Tyson Fury has mob connections, right? And it's very, very well known that he's one of the favoured guys in boxing, okay? And this fight's also taking place in Saudi Arabia, where Fury has deep ties, or as does his, gangster manager. Let's just say that. So Usyk's really up against it in this fight. And look, I love Usyk. I'm a big fan of Usyk. I picked him to beat AJ. I picked him to beat Dubois. I picked him to win the World Boxing Super Series. I've always favoured Usyk. I think the only time I've ever been nervous about a fight involving Usyk was the second AJ fight, because I suspected he might get robbed. Even though I suspected he would win the fight clearly, I was surprised he got the decision. But in this fight, I don't think he's even going to get a chance to get robbed. I think Tyson Fury is going to convincingly beat Usyk. Again, bigger man, stronger man, more naturally talented in a lot of ways. A guy who can show up out of shape, having not trained, and still go 12 rounds easily at a fast pace. A guy who can lean on you and fight inside and shorten his punches and be more of a pressure fighter. At the same time, like I said, he can move laterally and box you behind a jab from either stance. The only way Usyk can win this fight is if he sells out, fights at mid-range, right? Because he can't beat Fury at close range because he'll get leaned on. He can't beat Fury at long range because he'll just get outboxed, right? He needs to win this fight from mid-range. He needs to get underneath punches, get low, work the body. Needs to step to the side and try to counter Fury. And be kind of a counter fighter, if you know what I mean. So he's going to have to cut off the ring. He's going to have to fight at a side profile. He's going to have to land straight punches to the body and come up top with hooks. And Fury's very elusive, so he's difficult to hit with hooks. And yeah, I just don't think he's going to do it. I think Usyk's going to get beaten up in this fight. I think he's going to get outpointed, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets stopped. I really wouldn't. So yeah, I'm going to go with Tyson Fury by either a late stoppage or a wide decision. I think he wins the fight convincingly. And after this fight, all the people who said Fury was a hype job and he has a garbage resume and he has no chin, this, that, and the other, they're going to go right back to kissing his ass and saying that he'll knock Anthony Joshua out easily. Because, again, it's the same situation there. The people that were saying just a few months ago that Fury would dominate AJ and the fight's a mismatch, they're now saying that AJ will knock out Fury because of the Ngannou fight, completely ignoring the fact that Fury literally didn't train for Ngannou and literally carried the guy. Man, this has been a very incoherent video, probably the most incoherent video I've ever made. But as you can tell, I made this video on the fly, and I'm just so sick and tired of this garbage. I'm sick and tired of the boxing community. I'm sick and tired of content creators pretending that they give a crap about boxing when all they're doing is making a living on the internet. Let's be honest, that's all they're doing. Pimping all the normies for all the ad revenue and views that they can possibly get. Whereas channels like mine, who actually make real content, we get silenced and we get attacked and we get called fanboys and haters and racists and isms and all that rubbish. It is what it is, man. But you guys know my opinion on this fight. You guys know my worldview at this point. Yeah, Tyson Fury, look, there's a time and a place to criticise Tyson Fury. Yeah, his resume's not great. He's had some bad performances. But you cannot deny that the guy has talent. And I'm telling you right now, he fights Anthony Joshua. And if that's a real fight, he's going to absolutely humiliate, school, and embarrass Anthony Joshua if he takes the fight seriously. And I see no reason to think he won't beat Usyk. And I've always believed it. So I'm sure after this fight, everybody's going to go back to thinking Fury's the greatest ever. And, they're going to say he's going to smash AJ. I'm going with Fury to win convincingly. And, we can talk about it afterwards. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching and God bless.